Basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, Iona College. We are now back with segment 2 of Lights Out Sports. I'm your host, Rob Bancardo, here with my co-hosts, Terrence Taylor and Armand Matteo. And guys, we're going to get into our football segment. Last night, big game in the week, Green Bay Packers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what? The Packers came out and just beat them 38-28. Aaron Rodgers throwing for 333 yards and 5 touchdowns. And you know what? We look at the start of the season. Many people thought the loss of Jordy Nelson's would be the Achilles heel for Aaron Rodgers. But man, his team is just off to a hot start. This guy is a crazy quarterback. And he's going to put up some big numbers this year.
Yeah, I mean, he did great yesterday. What's it called? Throwing 333 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was absolutely just a monster out there on the field. But still, also, you got to take recognition of Jamal Charles, 3 touchdowns, 49 yards. So he did good too, though.
Oh, he needed to do good after the fact that Kansas City finally got out of their slump of throwing touchdowns, finally got one to Jeremy Maclin last night. Team really struggled, so the running game just had to go at it. He put up some big numbers. I mean, this game, though, Green Bay is showing you that no matter how much of a loss they'll take with big-time players, they're going to be a tough team to beat this year. We could see them yet again in the NFC Championship and maybe even the Super Bowl. I know it's early on, but Aaron Rodgers is looking like the Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think the loss of Jordy Nelson was that big. I think a bigger loss would be to lose someone like Aaron Rodgers or Eddie Lacy. A receiver is as good as a quarterback makes them. That's my whole philosophy on wide receivers. I mean, if you can make that argument about Julian Edelman, anyone in general. Tom Brady makes him good. A quarterback makes his receiver better. So he stepped up and he can turn James Jones. Remember James Jones the first couple games?
Yeah.
How he had crazy. He had I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first couple games.
And we remember James Jones. He left to go to Oakland
and
last season.
didn't do anything.
Did nothing. He
got that big contract in Oakland and was disappointing. That's my philosophy. A wide receiver is as good as a quarterback makes you.
Very good point right there. That very interesting point, because you know what, you kind of think of it too with like guys like Peyton Manning, with Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Wes Welker, how he developed them, Eric Decker. That's how the receivers got to be the way they were. Because you play behind a fantastic quarterback like Manning, who was just brilliant and knows what to do. Jumping in some other games, guys, from over the weekend. Obviously, we're going to cover our New York teams. The New York Jets falling to the Philadelphia Eagles, 24-17. Coming into this week, guys, DeMarco Murray's not playing, and as a Jets fan, I'm going, we're going to win it. But Ian Sachs has to tell me last week, this is the trap game. And sure enough, Ian Sachs jinxed my team, and we end up losing. I mean, such a tough loss. I don't know how we lost to this team. The Eagles are just struggling constantly on offense. We're seeing the running game was established this week with Darren Sproles, put up some big numbers, but Sam Bradford just continuing not to be the quarterback that the Eagles needed. They should have kept Nick Foles, throwing for only 118 yards the other day and 1 touchdown. And we look at the Jets' point of view. I mean, tough game. They're down early 17-0 in the second quarter. Brandon Marshall, the Jets are going down the field with him, and he tries to lateral a pass when he goes down. The Eagles end up recovering it, end up scoring a touchdown, going up 24-0. And we look at that moment in the game, a game changer of 7 points. And what's the final decision of this game? 7 points. I mean, the Jets had plenty of missed opportunities in this one in the fourth quarter. Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing 3 interceptions. But, I mean, such a tough loss for this Jets team. The defense really wasn't as stellar as we saw.
Rob, I don't think it was that tough of a loss. I think it just shows that the Jets are not as flawless as their 2-0 record signified. I think that the Jets are good, but there are some people that are getting ahead of the game and thinking, the Jets are going to win the AFC East. The Jets have a chance of going for the AFC Championship. No, they don't. I mean, they beat a struggling Colts team. Look at them. They barely got by Tennessee this week. Andrew Luck is one of the worst-rated quarterbacks statistically this year in the first 3 weeks. And they beat Cleveland. I mean, hasn't been a very compelling victory yet. You just lost to a team that was 0-2, who has been drastically horrible. So, I mean, the Jets, they're 2-1, but the Jets haven't showed that they... I would love to see what the Jets do against New England. If the Jets are able to at least steal one game from New England and lose by like 3 or just a tough game, and because Tom Brady's been on all cylinders.
He's looking like 07 Tom Brady.
Exactly. You understand what I'm saying, though, right, about the Jets? Yeah. They haven't had a very compelling victory yet.
Now, I'm not trying to be personally acting like a big Jets fan right now. Do you hold it as we look at Chris Ivory's out in this game. Chris Ivory's their big beast with picking up rushing yards, and you're missing your second wideout, Eric Decker, your second top wideout. Do we look at that as why the Jets could have struggled in this one?
I mean, Fitzpatrick, he threw good. Like he did, like other than the 3 interceptions. I mean, he threw pretty well. 283 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Terrence, you now look at the bigger picture. He threw 58 pass attempts.
58
He
pass
did, yes,
and
there's a lot of pass
at
attempts
times
still,
he
but-
overthrew
That-
and underthrew.
That's
his
2
receivers.
games. That's basically 2 games of passing.
That is true.
He played 2 weeks of football in 1 week.
I mean,
Well, if you want to count it in Chip Kelly's offense, that's about 3 weeks of passing.
That's
In,
horrible.
Chip Kelly's typical college offense.
The Jets, and the other reason why the Jets were able to win the first 2 games offensively was because of Chris Ivory. He was the workhorse behind the whole Jets offensive scheme.
yeah, the rushing wasn't as great as we saw, when they faced the Eagles.
I don't think the loss of Eric Decker was as huge, but definitely the loss of Chris Ivory could have affected this team, especially since the Eagles were not very good against the run in the first couple games.
I mean, the loss of Ivory is just it's a real killer because you're so used to that Jets ground and pound offense going back to the days of Rex Ryan, and when you lose a guy like that who's always hitting these guys, hitting the line, it's such a big loss. And then when you have 2 other guys who have to somehow find a way to get into that motion, get into that stretch of picking up yards, it's going to be tough after being so used to having that one guy leading the team.
I agree with you. I don't think I can't recall the last time I seen a Jet quarterback throw 58 passing attempts. What does he think he is, Joe Namath?
Yes.
See, but Joe would have been more accurate.
I understand that, but I've never seen it because, as you said, the Jets have always had this philosophy of ground and pound. We're going to win with our defense. We're going to run the ball. We're going to use time management. The Jets are very similar to how Seattle plays.
But don't you think they did it only because Chris Ivory was out and they knew the running game wouldn't be as good?
I think that too, and they fell behind very quickly to. I think they were down 20. Weren't they down 24-3?
They
Or
were down
24-0?
24-7 at halftime.
24-7. So being down 17, the clock's against you. You're gonna have to, get yourself back in this game, throwing the ball.
Exactly. So I
Because
think that's-
incompletion stopped. I mean, there's all different ways to stop the clock when throwing the ball, and it's the quickest way to score.
So basically, so you can see that's the main reason why they had to throw so much, though.
I could, but it's also
58
Ryan
yeah, but
Fitzpatrick.
But also 58 though. That's a lot. That's a
That's
lot.
like what
Actually.
Aaron Rodgers would throw. I mean, he threw 40, and he threw another 100 yards and 4 more touchdowns than Fitzpatrick this week. So.
Guys, looking at some other games this week, the Arizona Cardinals, who I'm looking at right now, I'm saying they're my Super Bowl favorite, dismantling the San Francisco 49ers 47-7. Colin Kaepernick's first 2 series, pick sixes back-to-back. San Fran has hit the rock in the road. They let go of Jim Harbaugh last season. He's having a nice laugh now because you know what? He did nothing wrong with that San Fran team. They let him go for absolutely no reason whatsoever. He was a strict coach, and you know what? If you have a problem with that, then there's something wrong with you because I like old school and strict coaches like that. And we're seeing now. They're going to struggle for the next couple years. Just like when they had Mike Singletary. They're going to struggle, and it's going to take long to build up. They've lost so many players. They've lost Aldon Smith. They've lost Patrick Willis, and it's going to be a struggle going down the stretch.
Then they also lost their youth, Patrick Borland. They're the draft pick from last year. The guy had to retire because I think he had a heart condition or something. He had a career-ending injury. Who was supposed to be the replacement for Patty Will. So yeah, it's huge.
And now we look at this game. We look at the Arizona Cardinals' point of view in this one. Now, guys, we're so used to last year the defense carrying that team at times. Carson Palmer was a decent quarterback, but now the defense is still the same way it was last year. But Carson Palmer is throwing so much more. He's throwing better. He's hitting Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald is looking great this year.
Is looking like a 20-year-old.
Looking like, oh wait, Larry Fitzgerald.
Really,
He's
really is,
looking
though.
like a kid out there. And this is what they needed, Arizona. Last season, one of the problems was Palmer really didn't target him as much. Now you're targeting him all the time. He's going to show you what you missed out on the last couple of years. But one thing I have to give Arizona, which they greatly improved on, the running game. Signing Chris Johnson in the offseason last second. He rushes on Sunday, 22 rushes for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. I picked him as my sleeper pick this year in fantasy football. I think he's going to have a big year. And you
Who,
have
Chris Johnson?
I think you have to give it to Arizona, Armand, because Arizona, who was their last really great running back? They had Beanie Wells at times. He really wasn't that special. Chris Johnson, I think, could put in work for this team.
I think so too, but they're really sold on Andre Ellington, the young back out of Clemson. So I mean, he's injured right now, so Chris Johnson, could put up a valid statement like he did this week with 22 and 110, like you just said. But definitely a good back to use. I mean, each football team usually likes to have two good backs, two different signature style backs, one in the passing game, one on third down, There's different ways to use them. But Chris Johnson was definitely a great addition. But look, this just also goes back to my point. Look at Carson Palmer's stats right there, Terrence. You see that?
20
for 32, 311 yards.
and 2
He had
touchdowns.
30 more yards than Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Ryan Fitzpatrick had 26 more attempts, and he also had, the same amount of touchdowns? Yeah, 2.
2 touchdowns.
But I'm just showing,
But it's ridiculous.
it's amazing.
Isn't it funny when you look at Carson Palmer's stats compared to Colin Kaepernick's stats?
Yeah, never look at Colin
Don't look at
Kaepernick's stats.
Kaepernick's stats.
What?
4 interceptions. Just don't look at it.
19 attempts, 67 yards, 0 touchdowns. That's
I mean, the first week Kaepernick played good. I was surprised that they were even able to beat Minnesota.
Armand,
that's crazy.
His
Minnesota
stats
looks
kind
good right now.
His stats kind of remind me of the stats that I put up versus you in Madden with my 4 interceptions usually. Kind of reminds me.
Didn't you use the 49ers too?
Yeah, I use them at times.
You used
Who won?
Kaepernick?
Who won?
I destroyed Rob.
Maybe I was handling Colin Kaepernick. I had him on my.
You know why?
controller.
Because you know what Rob does in Madden? This is what Rob does. Instead of stepping up in the pocket, Rob will run 40 yards back, throw off his back foot, and
Is that what you do? Is that what you do? Wait, what team did you use? I'm curious.
I used Miami.
Jets uses Miami kills me.
Yeah, well, the Miami. Don't worry, the Jets are probably gonna kill Miami this week.
What was the score? Because Rob is he's not the best in video games.
There's a lot to little Terrence.
Yeah, it's
Just
like
put
a
that
lot.
way.
Okay.
You could say like it's a 50-point game. Armand
I
was
mean,
like
50.
50. I'll be at 3.
I mean, I still would have beat him, but he
throwing
did.
that touchdown.
I don't think the
He
40
did it to himself. Though.
I don't think the
It would have
49ers
been a lot less of a big loss.
I don't think the 49ers are that bad though to lose by 50 though. Like that's.
All right, let's get back to this talk.
Going
That was
back to our
funny though.
topic right
That was very
now.
funny. There you go, Rob.
I know that was just
My
Sounds like
little
Rob.
sense of humor coming back.
Yeah, that's what I like to see more.
One last game I think we should cover, guys.
Don't say Miami.
No.
I will
No.
get
I
up
know.
and leave.
I was talking with Sax and Jersey Joe, and they already told me Armand does not
It's a
want to
world
talk
of
about his team.
controversy.
The Pittsburgh Steelers beating the St. Louis Rams. My reason for covering this game is, for the second time in Big Ben Roethlisberger's career, he will be out for this team. He's going to be out for a while, and
Wait, Rob, stop you real quick.
He's
I just
got
got
an
I
injury
just got an update injury. Cavs guard Iman Shumpert had surgery on right wrist, missed 12 to 14 weeks.
wow.
I'm sorry. I just had to announce that. I just got that.
No, that's fine. That's a good update. That's important.
I'm really sad, but I'm sorry.
No, it's big. I mean,
I just had to announce that.
But now, going back to football news, guys, with Big Ben, how big of a loss do we see this injury as? Now, this guy has Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. He has the weapons out there. He's been doing a tremendous job this season. They signed Michael Vick as their backup in the offseason. He threw 6 attempts on Sunday. He went 5 for 6 for 38 yards. And Mike Tomlin actually thinks that Vick could help lead this team because, you know what? You kind of look at it last year with the Jets, Vick had nobody. Look at it now. He has a bunch of weapons that he can rely on. He could get down the field. He doesn't have to be running as much as he usually did when he was younger. But this loss of Big Ben is a killer, especially in this division. The Baltimore Ravens right now are 0-3.
first time in franchise history.
First time in franchise history, and it's coming out that they don't have that defensive leader anymore. Obviously, the loss of Terrell Suggs was a big killer.
Suggs, not slugs.
Suggs week 1. But you kind of don't want to lose Big Ben at this moment. You lose him, you could lose hold of this division, especially standing right now at 2-1, and Cincinnati's on fire. Andy
Cincinnati's
Dalton's been
on
hitting
fire.
AJ Green. What do you think of this injury? The impact it will have on the Steelers?
What is it? 4 to 6 weeks?
It was 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh
yeah.
man, that's big. I mean, I haven't looked at the Baltimore schedule. I know that they play Baltimore. I haven't looked at Pittsburgh schedule. Excuse me. I know they play Baltimore on Thursday Night Football this week, which is kind of a trap game since Baltimore's 0-3. But going forth, depending on who they play, I think that you're gonna have to. I wouldn't trust Michael Vick anymore. I think he's washed up. Let's be honest. But I think you have one of the premier backs in Le'Veon Bell. You gotta they have a capable
gonna have to
defense.
rely on-
Capable defense. Just play that Jet Seattle style of football.
And, you look at it, you would have thought that the loss of Dick LeBeau as a defensive coordinator, that'd be a real killer. Really hasn't. They played some great defense, but they're going to go back to the Jets kind of mentality of ground and pound. That's what it's going to have to be with Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams. If this team
two
really
great
wants
backs.
to head on.
2 great backs.
And on top of that, but you still have, wide receiver Antonio Brown.
Yeah, but as I said
since,
before,
Big Ben is gone now, so
Antonio Brown's as good as Big Ben makes him.
Could be a real killer for fantasy this week, for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, for Antonio Brown, don't start him.
don't do it.
Don't start him, Heath Miller, any of those guys.
So we just told you guys about
Start Levy.
week 3 of the NFL season. When we come back, we are going to be getting into baseball. The postseason is only like 2 weeks away. We have about 6 games left in the regular season. It's going to be exciting. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
You're listening to WICR.